Alright guys, so we're going into round 3 at long last. We had the bye last round, which does count as a win for us, meaning our record is now 1-1. Currently that leaves us tied with 4 other players. 2 players have 2 wins each and will be facing each other in the quote-unquote finals. Unfortunately, our round 1 opponent was not among them, which was too bad. I was rooting for him. We do have somebody who is 0-2. They will be getting the bye this round, meaning we are guaranteed to play. So we'll be either up against Matt Millis, who, judging by how fast that round got over, even though they went to 3 games, is probably running some sort of aggro deck, or Fritz19, who, that game took a while, so they must be running a slightly slower strategy. We'll be facing one of those two. We won't be facing RTPCP again. At least I don't think so. I've never seen that happen. Alright. So we've drafted a solid, for anybody who hasn't watched the first parts, we've drafted a red-black aggro deck that I feel pretty good about. Round 1, we got blown out by a rare card that we really just could not plan for. And game 2, well, Mana Screw is the thing that happens. So we got our fingers crossed for some better draws this game. And I'm excited going to this final round. Let's see if we can scrape out 2-1 out of this. Get 2 booster packs, which will go a long way towards getting us into another draft another time. Once again, we're doing this just a few days before Magic Duels finally drops on Steam. And once that drops, we will be jumping into that full speed ahead. Let's see who our opponent is, shall we? And now we wait. Alright, we're up against Fritz. Our opponent won the dice roll, so he is deciding whether or not he wants to play first. And of course he does. Well, this is a solid hand. We have 3 mana, we have a turn 2 play, a possible turn 3 play, we have some removal, and we have one of our bombs to get to turn 5. We're going to keep this hand. Our opponent kept theirs as well. He didn't do anything on his first turn. We get a solid 3-drop. We're going to play the mountain and yield to end of turn. Next turn, we're going to play one of our swamps and go ahead and probably cast out the dragon fodder. And we might, ooh, he's using the storage land, the Mage Ring network. That's exciting. What's he trying? What's his game here? We got another land, which is good. We're going to need it to get the priest out on turn 5. In the meantime, we're just going to go ahead and dragon fodder. Get 2 1/1 goblins. We're going to pass our turn. Our opponent, if they're not asleep at the wheel, is probably going to use their Mage Ring network to store a mana. And they do. So they might be trying to ramp into some sort of big threat here. His avatar is Nissa, which is green, but that doesn't seem to be the route he's going. He seems to be in red and black also. He plays Eyeblight Assassin, killing one of my dudes. How unfortunate. He gets to give my creature -1/-1 till end of turn, but given that my creature only has 1 toughness, fatality. Oh dear. Fortunately, we can still stay with our first plan of playing the Fleshbag Marauder. Now when it enters the battlefield, each player sacrifices a creature, and we are perfectly happy to sacrifice a 1/1 goblin to keep a 3/1 on the field. And he has to sacrifice his creature too. So we have a solid board position, but we are summon sick, so that'll do it for us. We also don't have anything we can do during our opponent's turn here, so we're just going to yield till end of turn in order to conserve our time and see what our opponent does here. He has effectively 4 mana to spend. And he brings out an Acolyte of the Inferno. Whenever it becomes blocked by a creature, it deals 2 damage to that creature, and it has Renown 1. That's gross. So, what we're going to do here, I think, is we're just going to go ahead and use 2 mana at sorcery speed, and we're going to Reave Soul. To destroy target creature with power 3 or less, we're just going to go ahead and get that out of the way, go to combat, swing with the Marauder, and drop our opponent to 17. That'll do it for this turn, so after the damage is done, we're going to heal and let him go ahead. what we're trying to do right now is we're going to use our removal spells to keep our board position. And this turn, and next turn, we can drop our big flyer, which will be exciting. So our opponent's on the same strategy we are. Red-black aggro. There's the prickle boar that we passed in pack 3? I believe it was 3. Okay, so we've drawn another land here, which is more than I would like. And I think the play here is we're going to go ahead and go to combat. We're going to offer a trade. If he wants to trade his 3-3 for our 3-1, I'm pretty okay with that. Let's see if he does it, though. No, he doesn't. So he takes another 3 damage. So in the second main phase, we're going to go ahead and play our Swamp. And this is definitely the sort of turn where we want to run out the Priest. Now the Priest, if you'll remember when we were drafting, he's a 2-2 human cleric, but when he enters the battlefield, we also put a 5-5 demon flying creature token into play. That will shut this game down very fast if he doesn't have a way to deal with it. So we're going to pass the turn. And since we are tapped out, we're going to go ahead and yield to the end of his turn too. We still get to declare blockers. So he has a 5-3 first strike. Given that we are at 20 life, I could get this off the field so I don't lose 2 life at my upkeep step, but honestly, yeah, why not? I'm going to go ahead and throw this in the way. So we keep our life, he doesn't play anything, we get another land, we're going to play it even though we don't need to. What's the play here? Our opponent is at 14. If we active treason, we could get in for 13 damage this turn, which is not lethal. Phooey. On the other hand, that would knock him down to 1 life, which might just get a snap concede, and given that we could fire off the lightning javelin the next turn, I think that might be the play. We're going to go ahead and active treason his creature, which lets us take control of it, and it gets haste. It also gets untapped, and it now has first strike, since it's technically our turn. Let's go to combat. In hindsight now, I kind of wish I'd just taken the damage. If I had, I would have had lethal. But, oh well, live and learn. Next turn, we can just lightning javelin into the face if we don't just straight up beat him to death in combat. So our opponent should be at 1 life here. I did do my math right, and we're going to go ahead and pass to end of turn. He gets Prickle Boar back, and he's going ahead and using his land again to conserve some more mana. I'm wondering what it is he's trying to drop here that's so big, because at this point he can cast almost any card in the format. That's fine, he gets some goblins, keep himself some defenders. I don't know what he intends to do against the 5-5 flying demon that he can't block with anything he's got. We can't block either, so we'll take 5 damage here, that's okay. Okay, here comes something. Oh, he's going to put a 1-1 Flying Thopter into play to try to keep himself alive. Well, that will do it. I kind of want to keep my Lightning Javelin as like a secret here, but on the other hand, all I have to do is use it and we win. What's he playing now? Okay, he's putting a Nantuko Husk into play, using the mana that was left over on his Mage Ring, so he's trying to put as many blockers into play as possible to stay alive. It's a good plan, but it is not going to work, unfortunately. So we're going to put Lightning Javelin on the stack to deal 3 damage to him, and that defeats him. We do have to resolve our scry, so we'll put that away. Alright, so we won game 1 there in a pretty solid fashion. Let's go to the sideboard. Now we can decide if there's anything we want to bring in against this guy. And after what we saw in game 1, I think we've got a good list. We're on the same strategy. We're both trying to do red-black damage, but I think we've got a more solid list. His mana land, it doesn't really do much for him since he's not trying to ramp into anything big. If anything, it kind of slows him down. And our early game, which we didn't even draw, seems strong relative compared to his. I think we're just going to... Bonded Construct is kind of the only thing I'm on the fence about here. I think we're going to take it out, throw in a Chandra's Fury. Since he is on the Thopter strategy, it might help us clear the way for a final win. I think this is the deck. Let's go to game 2. Now, since Fritz lost, he does get the choice to decide whether or not he wants to play first. He, of course, does. We have a 2-land hand here, but we are on the draw, And we have both our colors. We also have one of our bombs. We have 3 4-drops. We have a 2-drop removal spell in case he goes early aggro. I think we'll draw a land before we need it. We're going to keep. My mulligans tonight have also not been gracious to me, and I don't feel like taking my chances. Well, we're off to a wonderful start here. I'm going to play a mountain and pass the turn. Hopefully next turn we will draw another land. Preferably it'll be a swamp, but at this point I'll take what I can get. He does his second turn, he doesn't do anything. We draw another mountain, which means we are now on the 3-land plan, which is great. We're going to play a swamp and pass the turn. We don't have a 2-drop. I wish we had more in this deck, but red 2-drops, there's really not much on offer. So let's see what he does here. He's reached 3 now. He's going to play a creature. It's Chandra, Fire of Kaladesh. Wow, okay, he got a mythic rare and a Planeswalker flip card at that. And as much as I want to point out that I could totally steal it and flip it, it returns under its owner's control, which means that even if I do, he will actually get the Planeswalker, and we are not having that. I draw another Cobble Brute here, and I kind of for a minute bemoan the fact that it is not a land, because I'm worried we're going to run up short on those. We're just going to go ahead and Reave Soul, though, to destroy Chandra, and we're just going to stop that before it becomes a problem. We don't get to play a creature, though, but we still have a good position on the board. We pass the turn back. Our opponent makes his 4th mana draw, and we're going to hope we do too, because he's played a 3/2 Haste 1 Renown creature, and that's going off this turn. Meaning it will now become a 4/3, and we're going to take 3 damage. We passed those earlier, and I kind of regret it, given that we are on the hasty strategy. I'd have to go back and watch, though, to remember what was in those packs, to see if we made a mistake or not. Okay, so we get the second swamp here, which is important, and as much as I hope we get another land next turn to get our Priest of the Bloodright and his demon friend into play, we have a plan here in the meantime. I'm going to go ahead and drop one of my Cobble Brutes, which means we can trade with his Renowned creature next turn. The low toughness is worrisome in case he, has a kill spell, but that's just a risk we're going to have to take at this point. If he kills this one and we don't draw a land, we just play the next Cobble Brute and try to keep our board position. If we draw a land, we drop the demon. And our opponent has played the Thopter guy, and that's okay, because next turn, we could always just use our own. Let's see if he doesn't decide to attack because he doesn't want to trade with my Cobble Brute. His loss. Okay. The cool play here would be to steal his creature and then sack it with the Fleshbag Marauder, but we don't have nearly enough mana for that. So the play right now, I think... what is the play here right now? If we attack with our Cobble Brute, he'll just trade with his 2/1, and that's not good value. We don't want to trade down that way. So I think the play right now, of course, is to go ahead and drop our own Gear Crafter, giving us a 2/1 and a Thopter. Even though we're not running it, we're going to leave the black mana open. Try to convince him that we are using the 1 mana instant speed that gives your creature Death Touch. So maybe that'll keep him from making some attacks next turn. We'll see. We're going to go ahead and pass the turn back to him. We did miss our land drop, however, and our opponent has made all of his, and that might put us in a disadvantage. Because it does look like he has made all of his so far. There's Eyeblight Assassin, which is going to give a creature -1/-1 till end of turn. He might hit the Thopter so he can just start swinging in the air, or he might trade with the 2/1. We'll see. We're waiting on him to resolve his ability and choose his target. He is killing my 2/1, which means the air will still be open, so that's nice. And now we're moving to combat, and he is swinging, trying to offer some trades. We have to decide here if he actually has, if anything, he's got the card art's got the guy pushing the rock up the hill. Gives it +3/+1 and a scry 1 for 1 red. If he does that on the Renowned guy and we block with the Cobble Brute, we're in big trouble. But I think that's just a risk we're going to have to take. We're going to offer a trade here and here. We're going to offer a trade here and here. Alright. Show me the spell. He didn't have it. So we only end up taking 2 damage. That's not so bad. Alright, he ends his turn with that, and we don't draw our 5th land. But we do draw a first strike creature with 2 power and 2 toughness, which is enough to block anything he has with relative impunity. That's good. We're going to pass the turn back. The deck just does not like us tonight with the lands, does it? Our opponent reaches 6 mana at this point, which means he could drop the big 6/4 creature with the burn ability that we passed up earlier. Our opponent's attacking here. No, he isn't. He thought about it, but then he noticed we had first strike, which kind of suggests to me that he does not have an instant speed combat trick, because if he did, he'd have probably used it. No. If he did, with the 1 toughness creature, we could still trade. But with a 2 toughness creature, now he would win the combat. So we're just going to take 2 here. We're not going to block. Alright, so our opponent puts us down to 13. He's still sitting pretty at 20. And there's the prickle boar. We saw him before. Alright, come on. Oh, for frick's sake. Well, we're going to go ahead and lightning javelin the prickle boar, just because that'll get out of control in a hurry. We'll also get to scry 1 after this, which means we'll be able to dig our way towards our 5th land. And what are you... Oh, no, I've made a terrible mistake. Okay, so there's the Titan Strength, which is the card he was showing that he had before, so we did read the signs right. Unfortunately, it gets an additional toughness, which means our lightning javelin will not kill it. Boo. However, we do at least still get that scry. And we have another creature on top, and even though it's a good one, we're going to put it away to try to dig our way towards a land. Finally, the prickle boar does have 3 damage on it, so we're going to go ahead and try to swing in with our sergeant here. If he offers a trade, great, and if he doesn't, so be it. I think we're actually going to get through and get our renown trigger. If he blocks with the prickle boar, thanks to our first strike, we'll just kill it. Same with the gear crafter. Okay, he trades the gear crafter here, so we don't get it through with the damage, but we at least get one of the creatures off his board. So that's kind of okay. We're going to pass the turn. That said, we are going to be in a world of hurt this turn. We're taking a minimum of 7 damage, but he's running out of cards in his hand. So maybe he doesn't have any big tricks. Okay, here comes the 7 damage that we knew was coming. We're going to go ahead and just pass till into turn. So what we can do, we go to 8. Let's see if he does anything in his second main phase. It looks like he does have a plan. Okay, there is the Bloodsucker, one of the ones we passed. Both players lose 2 life, which unfortunately at this point does include us. Well, we can't afford... He has a flyer who will kill us in 2 turns. And we cannot afford to not attack. And we still don't hit our land. We're in a bad situation here. I don't see an out. We still haven't hit our 5th land to get the big flyer into play, which, even though it would cost us 2 life a turn, would buy us at least a little time. I don't see a win condition here. We have to get another creature out to at least block, or else we just lose. I think we're just going to go ahead and snap concede this game. We do not have an out. We're going to go ahead and go to game 3. Okay, let's go to the sideboard. Let's look again. Did any of the changes we make our deck worse? I don't think so. I think our opponent just drew a lot better. I think we drew a lot worse. We are running 17 lands. That is the right number for this deck. We're just being lousy at hitting them tonight, I suppose. Alright, let's go ahead and submit the deck. We would like to play first again. There's another 1-land unkeepable hand. There's another 1-land unkeepable hand. There's a lousy hand, but at least it's playable. Alright, we passed till end of turn. Do not know who I ticked off, but they are clearly unhappy with me. We do draw a land, though, which means we can cast our Gearcrafter on turn 3 on curve, which is good. Our opponent uses their Evolving Wilds to get whatever color they need. They grab a mountain. So it begins their turn now. They're going to play their second land. Let's see if he has a 2-drop. He doesn't. which means we are at least on the beatdown plan. We draw another land here, so let's go ahead and drop the Gear Crafter. We are now on curve to use a Lightning Javelin on turn 4 to help modulate our draws a bit, which will be very helpful. Try to make sure we don't hit any more lands because we are good for a while. Our opponent doesn't do anything again, so maybe we're drawing better than he is this time. I'm going to go ahead and play Foundry of the Consoles pre-combat. He doesn't have to know what we're thinking. And we're going to go ahead and attack for 3 damage. Let's see if we get through. We do. He didn't seem to have anything. So unless he does something during our end step at instant speed, he is... yeah, he doesn't have any early plays. It's a rough situation to be in. So we're just going to go ahead and beat down. We're going to hold the Lightning Javelin to kill whatever he plays. Hopefully it's something like that, which means next turn we are going to murder its face. Perfectly okay with that. He attacks, so he's going to hit us for 3, and then the Renown trigger is going to go off, making it a 4-3, which means it's still in Lightning Javelin range, leaving us to clear the path. And he's tapped out, which means he cannot do any of his combat shenanigans this time. However, the card we just drew is Fleshbag Marauder, which I'm going to play instead. We're going to go ahead and do combat first, though. We're going to attack with the 2-1 and the 1-1 again, doing 3 more damage, putting him to 14. He can't do it. What we're then going to do in the second main phase is we are going to play Fleshbag Marauder, meaning both of us have to sacrifice a creature. We're going to get rid of our 1-1 token, and he's going to have to get rid of his 4-3. Meaning now we still have the Lightning Javelin up to use it to either use on the creature he plays next turn, or just to smack him in the face with. Both are perfectly fine. We are going to go ahead and pass the turn. Well, given the auspicious start to this game, we're actually doing pretty well. Our opponent reaches their 5th mana as well. Let's see what they do with it. Alright, there's a Prickle Boar, and again he's tapped out, which means Lightning Javelin next turn is going to get through and is going to make our opponent very, very unhappy with us. We're also going to go ahead and play that Swamp from our hand, so that next turn we'll have enough mana to use the Foundry of the Consoles. And on top is Act of Treason. We're going to leave it on top of our library, so if he plays anything good next turn, we'll just steal it and wrap the game up. We're going to hit our opponent for 5 here, putting him at 9 life. So hopefully, if he plays a big creature, we can just steal it and attack him with it. Let's see what he has. It's another Prickle Boar, which is 5 damage, which for those of you doing the math at home, is the victory. After we draw Act of Treason off the top, activate it during our first main phase to gain control of target creature and give it haste. We're going to go ahead and go to combat. Attack, attack, attack. Okay. And swinging for 10 damage. Alright, and that's the game. We 2-0'd that round, giving us a solid 2-1 finish in tonight's event. I'm pretty okay with that. The deck performed really well when it actually drew its mana, and given how much we had to mulligan, I'm honestly genuinely impressed with the matches, even the ones we lost. We put up a pretty good fight. The tournament's not over. We're still waiting on the last game to finish before we get our prizes, but we're going to go ahead and wrap it up here. We'll put the packs towards our next draft. We'll look forward to that sometime next week. Later this week, Magic Duels finally drops on Steam. I'm looking forward to grabbing it, getting as many cards as possible, as fast as possible, and uploading about... the current plan is as many videos as my computer has space for on the hard drive. Really looking forward to later this week. Thank you all for watching. This has been Magic Online. We've been doing a Magic Origins draft. We went 2-1. We had a great time. Thanks for watching. This has been Lee with Untapped Potential.